Governor, Southern Islands.
Thank you, Madam. I got confused because I'm not a member for Komohuli anyway. Thank you for that understanding. But good to see you, Madam Speaker. Congratulations from the people of Southern Highlands. My series of questions without notice in relation to the national population census is directed to the Minister assisting the Prime Minister, the Honorable Minister Richard Masere. But from the outset, you have done a very important performance in terms of the national population census, and I commend you on that. But in the interest of the nation, I want to direct this series of questions to you, through you, Madam Speaker. What is the general progress of the national population census of the country to date? In terms of the status of the national population census that has been conducted recently? That's the first question. Second question, in terms of funding, how much is the total cost of conducting this national population census? And how much is yet to be paid and outstanding? I think it is important we need to know this, because the sub-national government levels, we also contributed towards funding of this very important activity, and we need to know in terms of the funding. Third question, Madam Speaker, if there are some challenges facing the conduct of the national population census, we need to know, the country need to know. And finally, Madam Speaker, what is the target date to launch these population figures that we have been making many attempts to count the total number of people in this country? Thank you, Madam Speaker. Those are my 4 series of questions.
Thank you, Governor. Minister Masere.
Thank you, Ms. Acting Assistant Speaker, Madam Speaker. Sorry. Firstly, on behalf of my people of Popondetta and my family, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you on chairing the House, and we look forward to participating under your leadership in this House. So congratulations on that. Thank you. The series of questions asked by the provincial member for Southern Islands, I'll just respond to that, but census is a very important process that is undertaken by any government across the globe. And Papua New Guinea is no exception, so every 10 years Papua New Guinea budgets and undertakes this very important event or process so that it understands its population and it can better plan for its population and ensure that particularly the key government agencies that oversee the planning of the country are adequately provided with information so that they can be able to plan better and ensure that the country is progressing forward. Madam Speaker, in light of the questions that's been asked, question number 1, in terms of the general progress of the national census, the census commenced on the 16th of June 2024. I was appointed as the minister in this responsibility on the 18th of January in 2024. So by the time I took on the ministry, the progress and the planning for the census had commenced in year 2020, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the process of the census was delayed from 2020 all the way to 2024. And when I became the minister, there was also discussions within National Statistics Office to further defer the census to 2025. And at that time, the proposed budget to conduct the census was over $310 10 million kina. Madam Speaker, when I took office, we took a drastic measure in terms of looking at whether the census should be deferred or conducted in 2024. And a ministerial decision was made that we were in a position to conduct the census, and we reviewed the budget that was estimated to cost the country around 310 million kina, but due to prudent management, we were able to downscale the budget from 310 million to 153 million kina in order for us to undertake this very important process. The process when it was initially planned, the census work was supposed to be done within 2 weeks. Generally, around the world, they normally mark 2 weeks to conduct the census because generally after 2 weeks, they tend to feel that most people forget where they were on the night of the point of assessment of where the actual person was on that date. So it was given 2 weeks to conduct, but unfortunately, Madam Speaker, as the preparation was continuing, the funding that was made available in 2023 to procure the census material on January 10th, which we generally refer to as the Black Wednesday, all the 15 million kina worth of census materials that were procured were stored at the post-PNG warehouse at Konidobu. And on January 10th, when the incident took place, the warehouse was burnt, and the total 15 million kina materials that were procured to run the census were destroyed when that warehouse was burnt down. So as a result of that, we had to scramble, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we met the date. And because of that, the funding was received in May 2024, which was just shy 2 or 3 weeks away from the actual event. And with all those challenges, Madam Speaker, I could like to inform this House that the census took 6 months to conduct, which was when in comparison to the last census in 2011, the census took approximately 5 years to complete. So when we look at that contrast and see the difference, Madam Speaker, you could say that the Masere Rosso government delivered the census within a record time of 6 months to ensure that we work within the budget and work within the framework that was given to us to work with. Madam Speaker, the census is a process and it takes about a few months to conclude. After that is completed, there is another process which kicks in, which is generally referred to as the field evaluation. The field evaluation is intended to move around to ensure that those that missed, that those were not counted or missed during the actual census are actually captured during the evaluation. So at this particular point in time, I've issued an instruction that we give them 6 months to conduct the evaluation to ensure that the census and its evaluation process is completed within 12 months so that the Prime Minister could announce to the country the actual population in the country. The second question on how much it cost to conduct this census, as I alluded to earlier, it has cost the country 153 million kina. Madam Speaker, when we look at the last two censuses, in Census 2000, it cost the country 145 million kina. In 2011, it cost us 165 million kina. And the two censuses when we conducted, which cost the country 145 million in 2000, we were able to reach a population of 5.2 million people. In 2011, it cost the country and the government 165 million kina, and we only counted 7.2 million people in this country. So when we look at the dynamics of the economy and the current inflation that has affected not only Papua New Guinea, but the global inflation that has affected the entire globe, there had been an estimated of about 200% increase in inflation. So technically, this census would have cost this government 500 million kina to conduct, but Madam Speaker, it only took us 153 million kina to conduct. So there is a major savings in terms of what we've undertaken. And I would like to also on this point thank the provinces that participated in terms of offering support in financial support. And I think our good governor from East Sepik has been very vocal on that point, and I want to thank him on his floor for him supporting the census in his province. At this particular point in time, we have requested that all provinces provide us with acquittals of their spending in their provinces, and only one province has responded to date by providing us the acquittals of the money that they have spent. The provinces that made funding allocated for the census, the National Statistics Office had no oversight on how that money was spent in the provinces. So we have requested all the provinces to provide acquittals so that when we do a final audit report to the government, we can be able to capture both the national government's funding and how it was spent. But we would like to also show that the provinces that supported on how they expedited the funds, so that we can be all answerable to the country and our people to say that how we used that money. So in question 2, 153 million kina was allocated and 150 million was expedited for the initial field operations that we had undertaken. There are some challenges, Madam Speaker, which we are aware of, which we understand that there are some service providers that have not been paid. We will work with the government to ensure that the work that they've undertaken, we will resolve to make sure that they are pleased with our government. The third question, were there any problems and challenges? There were a lot of problems and challenges, Madam Speaker, which we were faced. One was that when we planned for the census, we had anticipated that the funding would be made available for us to conduct the census from preparation from January onwards, after the incident where we lost 15 million kina worth of census materials. The funding only hit us in May, prior to the census commencing in June. So we had minimal time to try and ensure that we ordered the tablets, we ordered the training materials, we ordered the papers to ensure that we conducted the census. The papers that we ordered, apart from the tablet, were our plan B in the event the tablets could not work due to network connectivity. We wanted to ensure that we also had a plan B to ensure that we had the forms available, so that whilst they encountered challenges with network connectivity, it wouldn't stop the census, but would allow the census to continue by ensuring that they used the paper to register all our people in the country. Other things we also faced in the start of the census was we were also affected by weather. We had logistics problems due to the fact that there were fuel crises. Air Niugini and the chopper companies that we had engaged to uplift the materials to all the provinces, because of the fuel crisis, we were unable to move them in a timely manner. But with all those...
What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, can the good minister simply respond to the questions by the governor and not give a ministerial statement? Thank you.
Minister Masere.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There is 4 questions, so I'm responding adequately to those questions. So the good Deputy Opposition Leader can pay some attention. Maybe he might, if he's Mr. Know Everything, maybe he might learn something here today.
Minister.
Tell him to relax. Can he withdraw that statement, please? Thank you.
Minister Masere.
Thank you, Mr. Madam Speaker. I withdraw that point. The challenges were great, Madam Speaker, and we undertook all these things in the midst of all this. But I want to thank the provinces that participated to ensure that the teams were trained, ensure that all the census coordinators and the field workers were deployed to ensure that we conducted this very, very important event. Question number 4, when will the target date to launch the final population? Madam Speaker, I just want to assure the House that I have made a ministerial decision not to make any announcements of the figure, because in the past there had been different numbers of population counts that have circulated and that have questioned the integrity of our population count. So, Madam Speaker, after the field evaluation is concluded, we will provide a detailed report to the Prime Minister and the National Executive Council, and upon their endorsement, we will then announce or put out a formal statement to this House announcing the population of the country. Madam Speaker, if I may also add here that there were some numbers being speculated in the public. There was between 9 million to 17 million. Madam Speaker, those numbers that came about were numbers that were based on several different templates that were used to just gauge the population based on number of different impacts and number of different elements that would contribute to the increase of the number. So those numbers were, of course, circulated in public, but I want to assure the country that between now and June, when the field evaluation will be completed, that number will be announced by Prime Minister, and that will be the number we will use between now and the next census. Thank you, Madam